the time we had scheduled to begin. So I'll jump right into it, introduce myself, and then we can carry on. So my name is Hilary Anekea from IREN, Kenya. And mainly at IREN, one of the main things I do at IREN is we do a podcast. And in this podcast, we talk about youth, youth employability, youth skills, and what have you. And so the other day I was talking to Mr. Nashon Adero, and he was telling me, hey, listen, the World Youth Skills Day is coming up. So why don't we come up with something in conjunction, that is the IREN Kenya podcast, in conjunction with Impact Borderless Digital, come up with something on youth skills, and employability. So that's why we are here today. And then, you know, uh, the main topic of today is youth and managing the transition from job security to career security with requisite skills and policies. And so, before we kick off, we start officially. I'd like Mr. Nashon to introduce himself, because I see there are some people who might not be familiar with him. So maybe he can introduce himself first, and then we can carry on. So, Mr. Nashon.
Okay, thank you, Hilary Anekea, for introducing me. And I'm Nashon Adero. I'm a lecturer at Taita Taveta University and also a youth mentor. I have a youth mentorship program called Impact Borderless Digital. And I'm happy to be here with you today on this World Youth Skills Day of 2021. We are going to tackle particular issues on youth, targeting skills development, and asking ourselves what is the right policy environment for a meaningful engagement of the youth in Africa, in Kenya, and which skills do the youth need in order to remain relevant in the fast changing labor market. So welcome, we'll go through it, and we'll also give you a chance to interact with us. Thank you.
Okay. I think that is a great introduction right there from Mr. Nashon Adero. And I want to jump right into it. And while I was preparing for this interview, I was reading some article, and from it, it's evident that the issue of youth skills and employability is a very sensitive one in Kenya, Africa, and around the world. It's a very sensitive issue. And so, as youth, as scholars, as researchers, and concerned citizens as well, we have a duty to talk about this issue, because a problem shared, is half solved. This is a problem that is there. It's evident that the issue of youth skills and employability is one that brings up emotions when people talk about. And so, as concerned individuals who are affected by this issue, I think it's our duty to talk about it, address it. And what better day to talk about it other than today, World Youth Skills Day. So every 15th of July is World Youth Skills Day. And in that spirit, Impact Borderless Digital, in conjunction with IREN Kenya, through the IREN Kenya podcast, have come together to hold a discussion on reimagining youth skills post-pandemic. And this comes at a time when COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc in the job market across the world. Statistics by the United Nations indicate that young people between the age of 15 to 24 have been even more severely affected by the COVID-19 crisis than adults. Globally, around the world, youth employment fell by 8.7% in the year 2020 when COVID-19 started, compared to 3.7% for adults. Okay. Additionally, young women have been particularly hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm not sure if we have women, or rather ladies, on board, because this is a worrying statistic that young women have been particularly hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic as compared to young men. So with these statistics, it is evident that there is a worrying trend in the transition of the youth from job security to career security with requisite skills and policies. And that's what we want to talk about today. So Mr. Nashon, so this is where you come in. And one thing I'd like to ask, one key question, question number one for me, this is a question that has been running around my mind for the better part of the day, you know. Um, some of us are probably hearing about World Youth Skills Day for the first time. Me being included, you just told me about it the other day, that was yesterday. And I've been trying to look around online because, these days the internet has a wealth of information, but I can't put, I can't get the right idea about it yet. So what is the World Youth Skills Day? What is it all about? What does it entail, basically, Mr. Nashon?
Well, thank you, Hilary. And the World Youth Skills Day has been with us for quite a number of years because in the year 2014, the United States General Assembly declared July 15th the World Youth Skills Day. Why? In order to celebrate the resilience of youth and to ask ourselves the question, how can we equip the youth with skills for employment, for decent work, and entrepreneurship? If you look at these three key issues, employment, decent work, and entrepreneurship, you'll agree with me that the youth need these three more than ever before so that they can be active participants in production, in the labor market, and every year we have been celebrating the World Youth Skills Day and asking the relevant questions. This year, the theme is on youth skills and resilience post-pandemic. So having been hit hard by this pandemic, which has ravaged nations the world over, and the youth are not spared, what can we do in order to ensure that the youth remain resilient through skills-based training? And that is why UNESCO has prioritized TVET, technical and vocational education and training, so that the youth can have the market-ready skills to make an impact. So that is why today we are talking about youth and skills development.
And I'm just thinking while I'm sitting here, I'm thinking whether I don't know if it's just me, but World Youth Skills Day is very unfamiliar, especially in Kenya. Is it because we are neglecting the issue about youth skills and employability? Because if this is a big issue, this is a day, another celebration that should be all over the place. When you go to Twitter, I can't see anything of this sort trending. Why is this the case? From your point of view.
From my point of view, I would say that it depends on publicity and are our media stations at the forefront, our journalists at the forefront disseminating this? Are our policymakers focused on disseminating this kind of event? So it mainly depends on the kind of championship such days are given. And as you have observed rightly, it means that we have not been laying much emphasis on publicizing the World Youth Skills Day, yet it was declared way back in the year 2014. So it is a challenge to us, policymakers, key decision makers, employers, the youth, learning institutions, to ensure that we give this day maximum publicity so that you can prepare for it upfront and it can trend on Twitter. In Kenya, we are known very well to be active on Twitter, so that it can trend on Twitter, because if we don't skill the youth adequately, then we cannot escape what we call the ticking time bomb. Because if the youth are not meaningfully engaged, but we keep producing graduates every year in universities, then we will not be able to handle the unemployment crisis that comes out of it and the despair. And if we are disrupted by pandemics such as COVID-19 with mass unemployment, then you can realize that it is not just an issue of youth problem. It is a global problem. It is a key problem to national governance and a threat even to security, because the youth when not meaningfully engaged, can resort to crime and breaking uh, the rule of law. So that is how important it is to policymakers and to everyone. Collectively, we have this duty to make it an auspicious occasion worthy of all our attention. Thank you.
Okay. And, as a concerned parties, so let us take this opportunity. We are the ambassadors, whoever is listening to me right now. Let's talk about this issue. Tell people that today is World Youth Skills Day. Very many people, me included, did not know that this anything of this sort existed. And when you start this conversation, it will pick up. It takes one person to start the conversation. The same way you have to light up a house, you have to strike the match first. So let us talk about it. Tell people that today is World Youth Skills Day, and it doesn't end today. Let's talk about it going forward. And now back to the business of the day. Mr. Nashon, I feel like you're the best person to talk about this issue of youth and skills, especially post-pandemic, because you wrote a book about the need for youth skills revolution in Africa. In the book, The Future of Africa in the Post-COVID-19 World. The book is The Future of Africa in the Post-COVID-19 World, and you wrote about the need for youth skills revolution in Africa. So tell us about it. Why is it urgent now, this youth skills revolution?
So thank you, Hilary. As we talk about youth skills revolution, you know very well that when we talk about revolution, we mean that there must be a determined effort to change things. It is like reaching an inflection point and you say enough is enough. We must change course. And just yesterday, we had a forum and we were asking ourselves, why is the uptake of new technology low in many sectors, especially in the public sector? And the conclusion was that it is a problem of mindset. So we are saying legacy thinking is a greater barrier to transformation and culture change than legacy systems. So we need to change our thinking. We need to change our mindset. So when we are talking of skills revolution, it means we have reached a point, and at this point, training institutions have to ensure that the curriculum is skills based, the curriculum is updated to reflect the needs of modern youth and industry. And we have been talking about the half-life of skills. The skill you have today must be upskilled, you must reskill, and you must update it because of the fast pace of digitalization and the digital transformation as it were. Because if you stay just a few years without updating your skills, you realize that your skills are not relevant anymore. For example, I trained basically as a surveyor, and many years ago, before the smartphone revolution, we could live off the scale of making maps, analog maps, cartographic skills. But now see what computerization has done. So you don't even need that skill. You need more of understanding the theory behind managing the data and how you can extract information from the data to support decisions. So when you are talking of GIS technology, for example, you find that we have professionals from agriculture, from other disciplines, ICT-based disciplines, even from political science, who can use GIS effectively for decision support in their own areas. So that is how urgent it is to ensure that training and curriculum review is regular and is paced in a way that matches industry needs, the fast changing industry needs in this era of digital revolution and data-driven revolution. That is why we are talking of a skills revolution to match the fast changing needs of this era.
Three things you've mentioned from what you've just said: reskill, upskill, and update.
Yes.
These are three terms that almost like they mean the same thing, like they're almost similar, maybe. And me being included, I've always been wondering, reskilling, upskilling, and updating. What's the difference? Because we are telling people, okay, you need to reskill, you need to upskill, you need to update. What is the difference? How do they differentiate one from the other?
So when we talk of reskilling, that prefix re is important.
Mhm.
So you have some skill sets already, but you need new ones because of the changing times. So if, for example, you are an expert at using MS-DOS mapping software, the way it was in the early 90s in the era of map making, we were using DOS-based commands to come up with the digital maps, for example. But with the fast changing times and having more user-friendly interfaces, now you see you need new skills to add on top of that. So it is a re-engineering and rediscovery. And this forces you to put on extra effort so that you bring new skill sets to support what you already have as your occupational skill. Then upskilling, that word up means you have to upgrade. So it is not just having add-ons, it is also going higher up in the chain. For example, if you are trained, let's say, for example, you can give me your case, what you are trained in.
Journalism, for example.
Journalism. Now,
Mhm.
we are nowadays talking of automated journalism because of artificial intelligence. We have seen what is taking place with the Washington Post, Newsweek, and through artificial intelligence, even novels have been written. So, you as a journalist, if you just stay with the skills you acquired from college and you are taught based on books that were published maybe in the year 2000 or 1990s,
1980s.
yeah, even 1980s, those books could only anticipate what the digital revolution could do to the world of work, but they were not yet at that point that they could readily convey to you the reality that we are realizing at the moment. So you as a journalist must reskill, you must add on to your skills, skills that deal with automation. What are some of the software packages that can enhance your delivery on your work? Can you, for example, register on Canva and ensure that you can make very well customized posters to communicate? So that is reskilling. But upskilling, you may want to say now, or you want to go higher and maybe you want to specialize in the area of investigative journalism.
Mhm.
And you realize now you need even some uh, basic training, let's say in criminology, in forensics. So you can see that this is challenging you to go higher up the ladder. So you are upskilling. And then update, all of us nowadays have are familiar with software either on your smartphone or on your computer. There must be updates uh, for security reasons and for better service delivery. So I look on update as going beyond just the skills, but to include the work environment. So the updating part is going beyond just the skills. It includes the work environment. For example, how must we update our work style, our work culture with the challenges of COVID-19? Now you see there is greater acceptance of flexible working modes. There is greater acceptance of multitasking, holding online meetings. And these are some of the updates that challenge us to have that adaptive resilience so that we can continue delivering with changing times. We also even have what we call deep skilling. So
Deep skilling.
deep skilling, yeah. So some people will also challenge you that you have just general knowledge about so many things, but can you now go deeper in one area so that you can be established as a go-to person, a key expert in that area? So that aspect of depth has also been referred to as deep skilling. So we'll continue seeing many and many of such terminologies with changing times because the vocabulary also has to change in order to capture the emerging mega trends of our time. Thank you.
Okay, reskilling, deep skilling, upskilling, update.
Update.
Okay, so I know maybe some of you might have questions, concerns. We'll give you an opportunity to dig in after he is done with his presentation. But for now, we move on. Now, job security for the youth in Kenya, especially, is this even feasible? I mean, let's be realistic, because every day people are the rate of crime has increased rapidly in Nairobi. Cases of mugging and theft, and I think this can be attributed to uh, lack of jobs. So, job security, is it even feasible? I mean, the situation doesn't look good at all. So, what is your take? Is it even feasible? Is it something we can achieve? Let's speak from a point of view of Kenya, because most of us have that, have Kenyan roots. We know what is happening on the ground. We have friends, relatives who are looking for jobs, who are desperate, people who are well learned, people who have gone to school over time, have master's degree and what have you. Is it even feasible? Job security.
Yes, so thank you, Hilary. So we have this keyword job security, and we have its sister, which we call career security. So even before I answer this question, I see many of the participants who have joined us, uh, university graduates who performed very well, are candidates for upskilling and reskilling. You'll agree with me that employment security or job security is uh, a, is a fleeting goal nowadays. Why? You look at the kind of jobs on offer, you look at the challenges employers are facing all over. So we are saying that job security or employment security is becoming more and more elusive. And what the youth need to target nowadays is what we call career security. Why career security? Because if you skill yourself adequately and equip yourself with transferable skills, then you'll be very well able to work across the board. For example, the youth skills survey and employment survey that we shared with this uh, registration link to this Zoom forum had a summary of a nationwide youth survey in Kenya. And we realized that the youth on average take 2 to 3 years on one job, and then they shift to another. What will empower you to have that multiple engagement as you rescale or deep skill is the transferability of your skill sets. So are you adequately skilling yourself, having the right skill sets so that you can move on with the changing times and competently be engaged on a series of assignments? For example, we are talking of the gig economy. In the UK, recently, a law was passed that gig workers also need to be entitled to the benefits of those employees we have always been considering as regular, permanent, and pensionable employees, because the world is changing and we have to accommodate the changing times by recognizing gig workers. So that is why we are talking of career security. You have a career line that you are following, and you can be secure within that career. Again, giving you my own example, trained as a surveyor, but reskilled in the areas of resource management, natural resource management, and resources engineering. Also reskilled in the area of public policy research and analysis. I'm able to uh, carry out consultancies, applying, surveying, GIS, technology to come up with solutions that are key to policymakers beyond the surveying and mapping profession. So that is one aspect of ensuring that you have the skill sets that are transferable and can help you to achieve what we call career security. So it is not about being permanent in one workplace, but about being able to be useful in the long run. And looking at the bigger picture, you are still useful in the larger economy, the global economy. So that is why we are encouraging the youth to take the issue of skilling, reskilling, and upskilling seriously to remain relevant and to achieve what we call career security.
Okay, is it safe to say that in Kenya, especially, the youth, or rather, most of us have been focusing on job security rather than career security, so that over time, when the industries change, we find ourselves jobless. Is it safe to say so that we've been focusing on job security? Because from what you said, I understand that job security and career security are two almost same but very parallel. So is it safe to say that we have been measuring on job security rather than career security?
That has been the mindset which has been passed on from one generation to another. You can remember decades ago in primary school, maybe your parents were encouraging you to go to school. We even had this song in Kenya, so many vijana baada ya kusoma utapata kazi nzuri sana, that you should go to school assiduously because after that you'll be employed. And the picture this one was creating is that one who has gone to school should have a very clean shirt, better still if it is white and well ironed in an office somewhere, so that when your friends come to see you, you have some rotating chair and they say this person has really gone to school. But gone is the time for that. You don't really need that four-walled office well painted with the 10 o'clock tea, 4 o'clock tea, but rather we are looking at ways of being useful in the economy by using only the bare minimum support you need. We are saying that 80% of the time you succeed because you just have the bare minimum to succeed. The extra 20% comes from what we would call some additional privileges. But if you can succeed 80% of the time because of the bare minimum support, then we can say you are already successful. In fact, if you listen to those who have been successful in industry or in various sectors, they will tell you that 80% is good enough. You can be a victim of your own success if you are a perfectionist, if you always target to get it 100% before you release it. So many successful people have been saying 80% is good enough. So we can go with that and say, focusing so much on that traditional mindset of being employed in an office environment, 8 to 5, and thinking of nothing else to make yourself useful in the economy is a danger to career security. And those jobs, again, are jobs that change with time. Look at what COVID has done to the hospitality industry. So if you are a waiter in a hotel and you are not spending any extra time to acquire some skills that would make you transferable across sectors, you realize that once that industry is affected drastically, you have nowhere else to turn to. Maybe you didn't even have some basic computer skills, so you cannot work anywhere else. If you're a driver, taxi driver, for example, you may challenge yourself to acquire more skills beyond just being a driver, because what will you do if that job of driving is gone? So let's have that kind of mindset. It's about career security, being useful in your career, continuous career development, or what we call lifelong career development, as opposed to just being fit for one job and being comfortable waiting for retirement.
Okay, and I've seen a few people have just joined us. So if you have just joined us, we are talking about youth and managing the transition from job security to career security with the requisite skills and policies. That's what we've been talking about, and Mr. Nashon Adero is the speaker of the day, is shedding light on how youth can manage the transition from job security to career security. And what he's been saying over time, or in the past few minutes, is that we have been dwelling on job security, and with time we should find a way of shifting, or rather adopting career security instead. Because growing up, we've grown up, or rather we've been given the mentality of job security. And over time, the industries change and we find ourselves jobless. So how can the youth transition from job security to career security with the requisite skills and policies? That's what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
And then, moving on, why talk about career security now? I know you've mentioned it in your talk somehow, eh, from whatever you've just said, but why talk about career security now? Because over time, from the 90s and the 2000s, this is something that has not been in the mainstream, something that we've not been talking about. Why talk about it now? Is it because the situation has become so dire and we are desperately looking for solutions? Why talk about career security now? Is it because of the statistics? Is it how because of how the industries are changing? Why talk about it now?
Thank you, Hilary. It has become urgent and important to talk about career security. Now, first look at the demographics. Population keeps increasing. The population of the world is now approaching 8 billion. The population of Kenya, during Moi's time, we were talking of uh, 20 million and thereabouts. But now, if you ask me today, what is the population of Kenya, for example, it will be safer to say that we have even exceeded 50 million.
Mhm.
And look at the number of graduates from our universities and colleges increasing every year. There are times decades ago when meeting a university student in most of our villages in Kenya was an uphill task. And if you are a university student, you would be known in the whole constituency and your name would even disappear. You would have this name, that one passing is a university student. That was enough to identify you. But nowadays it has become commonplace. Bachelor degrees have become commonplace. So if you look at the rate at which jobs are being created against the rate at which we are producing graduates, the two don't match. So the gap has been widening. And looking at the kind of jobs on the market and what automation, digitalization, and the abundance of information on the internet is doing, you'll agree with me that some of the traditional straitjacket disciplines have no chance of survival. And these disciplinary boundaries are just created for convenience. But over time, you realize that what you could do and have full command of many years ago is not a, a reserve for you alone. There are many people from other disciplines that can accomplish the same tasks because of ready-made software applications and because of the abundance of information on the internet, for example. That is also challenging the traditional uh, library system of hard copy books. So if you look at the way the world is becoming more and more interconnected, we are even talking of a hyper-connected world, it is challenging us to take on a paradigm shift, not the linear approach of job and employment security, but the approach of being so well equipped with the changing times, upskilling, reskilling, and deep skilling, so that you can have a secure career, which is responsive and adaptive to the demands of changing times. And we just shared an example earlier about journalism and what automation is doing in journalism. In my case, I shared the example of the traditional mapping, cartographic skills, and what automation, or what we call digital mapping technology is already doing and disrupting that. So nowadays, it is Not strange to find a political scientist or a lawyer talking of using maps to support decision, digital mapping, and GIS technology. It is not strange nowadays to talk of a mining engineer uh, actively engaged in digital image processing to use those digital images or satellite imagery to support decisions in various areas. And even among us today, one of my students has joined us, Waruru Gitau, is in industry for attachment, and the attachment area is engaged in is in the area of GIS and remote sensing technology. Yet is training as a mining engineer, but this skill will be highly useful to him, and we can say this is part of the reskilling that is will be useful to him uh, to have that career security, not looking at the traditional mining sector, wanting to be employed at base titanium or at the river mining, but can be employable even with World Food Program in order to discharge his skills to ensure decision support. And if there is a challenge in planning, for example, the world is talking about food security and minerals are discovered somewhere. So how do you make a decision between mining and food security? If the area is high potential for agriculture, and GIS is one technology that can help you to come up with effective decision support and decide on what is better for long-term sustainability. And so if you are trained in mining and also you have the skills, add-on skills in mapping, GIS and decision support using uh, satellite based positioning and imaging systems, you'll find that you are more useful in that area, and hence you'll have what we call career security. So it is urgent and important now, more than ever before.
Okay, changing times,
Changing times.
basically. And this reminds me, the other day on social media, I was reading somebody who was in Moy University, and it's funny that I am an alumni of Moy University who took graphic and design as his bachelor's degree. But then after graduation and what have you, after making merry after graduation, he went back to KMTC, Kenya Medical Training College. This is somebody who has spent over 5 years because Kenyan public universities take a little bit longer time. About 5 years studying graphic and design. Then he gets into the job market or the world, the outside world, and it doesn't look like there are opportunities for him. So he says, okay, I need to go back to school. And so he enrolls for at Kenya Medical Training College, KMTC. And I think this really amplifies the fact that we are living in changing times. And so, I believe we should focus on career security over job security.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, moving on, which policies, would level the playing field for youth to participate actively in the labor market? Because at the end of the day, we say, okay, we want the youth to be part of the labor market, but then there needs to be policies that will level the playing field, so that they're not, pressed, or rather, what will level the playing field? What policies can be put in place to level the playing field for these youth to be able to get into the job market and be as productive as you want them to be?
Thank you. So when we are talking about policies, we need policies because policies are part of the enabling environment. So you can have policies that encourage job creation in particular areas. For example, we are talking of digitalization, we are talking of the fourth industrial revolution, and the climate action, which is SDG, Sustainable Development Goal number 13. So even in Kenya, we're talking of green public procurement, the government being a key procurer of products and services. Can government go green in terms of procuring green products so that we can deliver on the goal of reducing emissions, the goal of having a circular economy, or what we call achieving decarbonization targets. So looking at all this, policy is at the center because the policy would make suitable fiscal environment, that is taxation regime that will encourage cleaner technologies, for example, renewable energy technologies, for example, electric vehicles. So that is part of policy. Policy sets the norms, the standards, and gives direction. Policy also ensures harmony in terms of coherence and continuity. So transferring that to youth and skills development, do we have policies to ensure that it is much easier for them to get the market ready skills so that they can enter the marketplace well equipped to face the needs of industry. For example, on the nationwide youth survey in Kenya, I found that only 24% of the youth graduating from our colleges are confident that they have market ready skills. So look, only 24%.
Only 24%.
What of the 76%? So that is already informing policy that we need more of opportunity to encourage industry to come to university and industry to collaborate with university, attachment opportunities, and for young graduates, because that already shows that there's a definite need for retraining. You see there's, for example, here more than 75% need to be retrained in order to match the needs of industry. So do we have internships, not only limited to particular disciplines, but internships that are targeting all the young graduates so that they can be well equipped for the marketplace. And these internships also require policies. For example, if there are tax incentives for industry, that if they take maybe a particular number of young graduates on internship, then they will get some tax breaks. You can see such a policy would also encourage youth mentorship and making them ready for the marketplace. So these are some of the examples in the policy environment that we can take up. And Kenya has already tried this one out in some areas. If they are not working well, then we need stakeholder engagement, and key stakeholders in this case are the youth themselves. Are we engaging them when we are coming up with these policies so that we can also have good information about their convictions and fears, and they can be resolved at that level so that we come up with policies that are inclusive with adequate stakeholder engagement.
Okay. So that was a Mr. Nashon Adero. I feel like from the word go, he talks about virtually everything I wanted him to talk about. And I have this habit of always straying away from the chosen path a little bit, not in Christianity though. So I have had this question that I've wanted to ask you. I would have asked you personally, but then I feel like it would be helpful to everybody who is listening to us at the moment. Every day, election period is coming, and most of the time, when the politicians come to you, they say, "Hey, there are no jobs in Kenya. The youth should strive to employ themselves, self-employment." And when you read books and you watch videos on social media and on YouTube, everybody is saying you need to venture into self-employment. So this is, I'm sorry for ambushing you with this one, but I know you can give us some insight on the same. So basically, what do we mean by self-employment? Because, so what is self-employment? Basically, does an engineering graduate who ventures into selling tumba call that self-employment? Or does self-employment have to be aligned to what you studied, to what you took in university? What is this all self-employment about?
Yes. Thank you, Hilary. And talking of self-employment, look at one example of a young graduate who was in the Kenyan context has been supported through the government loan system, the higher education loans board, and maybe this student went and took engineering at university level, that is 5 years, or if it is at diploma level, 3 years. Then upon graduating, you are telling this young graduate that there's no job, look for self-employment. Now, then the first question is capital, because even for that Mutumba business, you need some capital. So we have policies that will encourage the or empower the youth to get such kind of capital. But again, if you have that major veering off the trajectory, spending all those years in college, and then after that, you go into Mutumba business. The question is, if we are a responsible government or country, then why did we have uh, to subject such a student to those 5 years of training, for example?
Yes.
Because training in engineering, for example, or medicine is a highly demanding process. And these are skills that we should treat as key assets in our country, because human capital is the engine of national socioeconomic transformation. So that is why addressing this problem earlier in the education system, right from the basic school level, identifying talents and nurturing these talents so that people graduate not only with academic qualifications and papers, but with skills, because these skills are the ones that will now attract funding. We have angel investors, we have venture capitalists, and if they recognize these skill sets and innovativeness in the youth, then they will be able to sponsor these ideas so that these ideas can be turned into business so that we can have a vibrant entrepreneurship environment. Because when the government alone, we can say, doesn't have all the money, all the loans to support the ideas the youth have. So we also need active participation from the private sector and from philanthropists. But these philanthropists are also keen, where is their money going to? And is it fertile ground? And this fertile ground has to be judged on the basis of the skill sets these young people have. So I would say that uh, we can have job creation, but that job creation is dependent on the skilling mode we have and on the policy environment that facilitates that job creation, because capital is at the center of this. And this brings us back to the theory of inventive problem solving. Last time we looked at this contradiction that capital owners are complaining that they don't see any investable ideas in these young people. But the young people are also saying we don't have the capital. No one is enabling us to transform our ideas into money, into businesses. So in order to resolve this contradiction, from the training side, we must adequately skill our youth. And the training environment must be well supported with adequate training infrastructure and adequate networking. Or not all the infrastructure can be in one college or in one university, but we should network and consider these facilities as a collective pool. I would call them a commonwealth to be exploited for common good. So if we have those policies that can facilitate that kind of collaboration, then we'll have maturity of talents through investable skill sets, which investors will be able to sponsor, and will be able to have these inventions and innovations being commercialized to make a meaningful impact on society. And through that, there will be more job creation and more pathways for meaningful engagement at workplace.
Okay, great. I think that is well taken care of. And so, as we wind this up, we have various people on board. So maybe you have a question, a concern you want to raise, probably an additional point that you think we've left out. So this is where you come in. Anything you, they can unmute themselves, right? And then
Yes.
maybe speak up, and we'll see what to do with that. So anybody? on board who feels like they have a question, a concern, or an additional point, maybe? Okay.
So this is the time for you to engage, comment, questions. I see a number of you have joined us, a good number well known to me. And you never know, as youth, maybe by talking, giving us your idea now, you could just land on an angel investor who can turn your idea into money. So this is the best time for you to speak up, because we are airing live from IREN Kenya, and IREN Kenya is active in SME and Enactors Kenya, and ensuring that the youth can be connected to investors who can turn their ideas, help them turn their ideas into money. So I see John, I see Kefa, I see Gitau. He has not told us, he has not shared with us his experience in industry. The attachment is doing not in mining as such, but in GIS. This is a good chance to engage in any order.
Yes, like I said, my name is John Okwaro. I'm a mining engineer. I did mining in my undergraduate, and now I'm doing environmental engineering masters. Yes, I'm working on a thesis with Dr. Adero. Yeah, so I'm using data science. I've interest in data science, so I'm using that to enhance environmental management. Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Okay, Ibrahim, I know this might be an ambush to you. Now that this will also go on the IREN Kenya podcast, the recording of this Zoom call, maybe as an IT specialist in technology, maybe talk to the listeners, students or anybody else who is interested in technology and innovation. We've been rolling out principle 13 of inventive problem solving over time, doing things in reverse or the other way around as a problem solving technique. In very few words, maybe what can you tell them? We have videos on YouTube on the same, maybe, a call to action so that they can go onto YouTube and take a look at the same. Ibrahim?
Well, okay, thank you so much, Hilary, for giving me this time.
Yeah.
Well, just in a nutshell, I need to be brief, not that I'm really ambushed.
Yeah.
Well, basically, currently I'm running ITIP, and ITIP basically is the IREN Technologies and Innovation Platform, whereby we provide some sort of platform for innovators. It doesn't matter the type of innovation that you have or what sector you're trying to get into or what problem are you trying to solve. So you're just open. You accept all forms of innovation. So currently in the 2021 rollout, and you're making so much progress. So basically, you've been doing the inventive problem solving, trying to nurture the innovators on inventive problem solving rather than just being amateur problem solvers, that is. So currently we are so much sensitizing on principle 13 of the inventive problem solving theory that talks about doing things in the reverse order or reversion. You're putting the cart before the horse now. So basically, that is what we are currently into. Most of the things regarding that, you can get them on the iTip YouTube channel or the IREN YouTube channel. There's also the tweet chats on the iTip Twitter handle. You can also try to have some insights on the inventive problem solving principle 13. You can also run towards our podcast that are normally being done by IREN. And Hilary and Anekea is the one that is managing this. So you can the podcast actually have the easy to understand, easy digestible content in them with regards to Principle 13, and also on the YouTube videos that are being posted from time to time. So basically, that is what I can say for now. And maybe if you allow me, I can leave my number so that we can chat forward. You can chat some way forward with people who are interested in innovations and who needs maybe some support, not only financial but also intellectual support. Maybe if you
Okay,
can
yeah,
allow me.
yeah, maybe when I just say your number, maybe they can write it down.
Okay. My phone number is 07 96 42 0971. 0796420971. And the email address is mwakitawa at irenkenya.com. Mwakitawa, that is MWAKITAWA at irenkenya.com. Thank you so much, Hilary, for that.
Okay, Ibrahim, right there. And just to echo what he's been talking about, in the world we live in today, we are faced with realities. And when I talk about realities, I talk about things like the COVID-19 pandemic, things like changing consumer expectations, things like technological advancements. So these things, or these realities, are forcing us to change how we go about our day-to-day activity. And basically, these realities are sort of a problem. For example, COVID-19 pandemic. With the COVID-19 pandemic, it meant that most activities were cut short. For example, school. Initially, people had to go to school, for example, university. You had to go to university to get education, basically, attend lectures and what have you. But when COVID-19 came, social interaction became a problem. So this is a reality. And to deal with this reality, we have to fix this problem. And one way of fixing this problem is through inventive problem solving. That is what Ibrahim has been trying to talk about. And probably when you listen to it for the first time, it sounds a little bit complicated, but it's nothing complicated. So probably the best way to start is you can listen to our podcasts. We've had podcasts with Mr. Nashon Adero before, the IREN Kenya podcast. So when you go on Google, just search for the IREN Kenya podcast. It's on SoundCloud. You'll see it right there. Listen to some of the conversations we've had there. I think it's easier hearing it from us, from our conversations, our discussions. We try to go deep into it, break it down for easier understanding. At the same time, we've been doing videos on inventive problem solving on the IREN Kenya YouTube channel. So IREN Kenya on YouTube. So while you're there, make sure you subscribe and like, and then you can watch whatever is there. There are very many videos, but then now that you're talking about inventive problem solving, you can find all of them there. Videos which give a breakdown, which help you understand what inventive problem solving is all about. So yeah, that was just me echoing what Ibrahim Wakitawa was just saying. So, okay, I think that's it for me. Mr. Nashon, maybe as we wind up, any closing remarks about youth and managing the transition from job security to career security?
So as we wind up, I will use the analogy of hunger and thirst. I don't know, Hilary, when you hear of hunger and thirst, what do you notice is common about both?
Hunger and thirst.
Yes.
The need to put something into your mouth.
Yes, both of them are compulsive. Both of them are compulsive. And when you are truly, truly thirsty, in Kenya, we have not experienced wars like in other countries, but in countries where there is war, you will not even discriminate based on the color of the water available. If you are thirsty, you just go for it to quench your thirst. Hunger the same, you will eat almost anything that looks edible in order to satisfy your hunger. So as we talk of youth and skills development, we must appreciate the changing times. They need to be flexible, drop that idea of being in an office white collar jobs, collaborate. Just today, one well-known technology enthusiast, futurist, and thought leader by the name Bernard Marr in the UK displayed the results of his LinkedIn survey. He got over 5,000 responses. And this question was about the key skills one needs in order to be successful in this era. And 2 skills came up, and these are skills in collaboration and skills in communication, COCO, collaboration and communication. You need these skills irrespective of your discipline, whether you trained as an engineer or a communication science student, you still need communication skills and collaboration skills so that you can be competitive in the hyper-connected world. And COVID-19 has only accelerated that collaboration, that borderless networking. We have conferences that used to be exclusive. For example, the annual S3 user conference in the United States. You had to apply and look for funds to go there to present, but now it has been proceeding virtually, and we have a chance to participate from the comfort of our living rooms. So look at that, and it is also expanding the opportunities for you to be an effective communicator and networker and understand different cultures as you network with them. So collaboration and communication. And why am I using the example of hunger and thirst? Thirst is very specific. For thirst, to quench thirst, effectively we need water. We used to be taken for a ride some time back that some cold soda will do the trick. But after down in this cold soda, you are still thirsty.
Yeah.
So thirst is so specific to water. But I'm saying the era we are in terms of skills development is more of hunger than thirst. So it is not that specific discipline for you which you trained that will help you to be competitive. It is like hunger. You can satisfy your hunger using different types of food. So make use of the democratized environment for learning and add on to what you studied in college other skills that you can learn, like coding, like using GIS, digital mapping, to make you more, to enable you to have more transferable skills, and then you'll be able to achieve this target we call career security. So I conclude by saying that we have to manage, or the youth have to manage, the transition from the fleeting job security to the more promising career security in a hyper-connected world. And the government needs to ensure that enabling environment to ensure to enable the youth to be more actively engaged in this kind of new workspace, so that investors, industries, training institutions can work collaboratively and can ensure that the youth are well equipped with skills for the marketplace upon graduation from colleges. Thank you.
Okay, that was Mr. Nashon Adero, and we've been talking about youth and managing the transition from job security to career security with requisite skills and policies. So that marks the end of our Zoom meeting today. I hope you've picked one or two, 3 points from him. If yes, you can share, or rather, if you still have, for those who joined late, that is probably when we are already midway, we will be uploading the recording for this Zoom meeting on the IREN Kenya podcast. So just go on Google the IREN Kenya podcast. You will find it right there. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sparing time to listen to us. We are grateful, and we are hoping to get a hold of you guys again next time for other discussions. So thank you, a big thank you from me.
Thank you. So bye-bye. Hope to connect again next month for the next youth forum. Thank you and have a productive end of the day.